SEPTA maintains and operates nearly 300 miles of commuter rail, over 300 miles of light rail. We have about 30 miles of electric trolley bus, over 20 miles of heavy rail system. All our substations, all our switches are controlled remotely from a central control point, our command center.
On this floor, SEPTA is in communication with all the vehicles that it operates.
Here, our operators can open a breaker on a remote location, a substation that's located 40 miles from here. The information on our PA systems comes from here. Switches can be operated from here. Train dispatchers can throw a switch to make a train switch tracks as necessary. They can route a train through the system using our control center here.
We're one of the few transit properties in the nation that runs the magnitude of service.
We have over 2,700 vehicles that we put out on the street every day, and we have all the operators that get on those vehicles. So there is a lot of work that are done by every single district, by every single maintenance shop, by a lot of departments to put people, engineers, operators on a vehicle, and that vehicle to be reliable.
Our job is to make sure that the service is maintained on an on-time performance, make sure that the people know that they need to go to a different stop if there's going to be a detour, provide safe, accurate, on-time service for the public.
My job is to keep the service going, no matter what happens, whether adverse weather, storms, a fatality, which is extremely unfortunate. My job is to actually keep trains moving, to keep some type of service going on the affected lines.
We are the only property in the United States that has all the different modes of transportation.
We run bus service, subway service, light rail trolley, both trolley on street traffic, trolley on dedicated right-of-way, and we have an extensive commuter rail operation. All those groups are housed here in the control center. It is an integrated process with all the modes working under one report.
Every day we transport approximately 500,000 people. We have 1,180 buses on the street during what would be considered rush hour time.
On a given day, we haul approximately on the Market Frankfurt line about 180,000. Broad Street is about 150,000. The Route 100 is about 80, give or take. The immediate Sharon Hill is about, I would say about 50,000. The Green Line total is up there. It's up to about 80,000 or maybe close to 100.
On average day in the life of the control center, it never really ends. It's a 24/7 operation. It's continuously moving. We have staff around the clock that constantly supports the service that we provide out on the street.
This center never sleeps. There's always a handful or more people on this floor 24/7.
I always describe this job as like a fireman. We come to work, if the alarm goes off, we have to react.
Every day, you don't know what you're getting into. Some days you get a dog biting an operator, you're getting a patron falling out of a wheelchair, you gotta react.
At any minute, you could get that call or an incident could happen where everything has to stop and you're focusing, working to deal with a major incident. And kind of the uncertainty, the unknown, when is that going to happen? Will it happen? Certain days we have nice calm days, and other days it can get chaotic. So you have to be able to respond in an instant. You have to be able to start making quick decisions.
There's something new every day. I mean, a storm's great. I love working a storm. You know, it's different, you know? Looking at that map and trying to figure out how you're going to get that bus out of there.
An average day is never really truly an average day. We always have something going on out of the ordinary.
There's never a time that's boring. You hit the ground running, and it's not just coming to work, but when you leave, you still think about this place. I think about this place. You know, we're always in communication, making sure that we're doing the right thing.
Our network is somewhat complicated because it came from systems of private for-profit corporations that went bankrupt in the 60s, and all the standards that was used to build that system are not common. The private companies built rail lines with different gauges, different power sources, different voltages. These assets from these former for-profit companies are pretty much standalone. Since SEPTA's inception, its job was to take the assets of these competing private companies and make it into one seamless service. We're not a planned system.
In the mid to late 90s, there was 5 different control centers. They were all at different locations. They were decentralized. We had some locations that were literally 5 to 10 miles apart from each other that were all parts of their own respective groups.
About every 10, 15 miles, you may have a tower where a tower operator would be in there throwing switches to move trains from one track to another. Nothing computerized. All recordings on paper and pencil.
10 years ago or 12 years ago, everything on this floor was dark. We couldn't see our trains, we couldn't see our buses, we couldn't see our sub, we couldn't control any movements at all from the control center, or very minimal. We were able to control some movements on our subway systems.
SEPTA did not know where its trains or buses were. We had no visibility. We had radio communication with our rail vehicles, and buses had radios since 1980, but prior to 1980, there were no radios on buses either.
There was a decision made by the general manager back in the late 90s to consolidate. The first 3 years, from about 2001 to about 2004, we cut over every one of our systems up here to a newer system of computer-aided dispatching. There was a lot of transitioning where half of the floor was using the old system and the other half of the floor was using the new system. A lot of training that was done, a lot of effort spent trying to work out the bugs of any new type of a software program. We really went through a lot of pains to make the system right. Things that were done in the 1920s were now more modern, that we were able to now see our trains.
All our buses were purchased with GPS, so for the first time, the GPS system is showing us where our buses were.
We have a lot of data now. We're able to look at where our trains are relative to the schedule, where our buses are relative to its schedule, so we're able to understand the quality of our service. For on-time performance for our buses, we used to do about 1,000 checks per month, and that was with someone with a clipboard standing at a street corner watching a bus come along and saying it's on time, it's early, or it's late. With new GPS technology, we removed that feature from the field and we collect over 1.5 million data points a month. The old way, we would always report that we were running 90% on time. You turn on the technology and we were running probably 60 to 65% on time, which at least told us where our problems are, so we were able to use that data to improve the quality of our service. And we did that across every mode of operation. That 3 years was a big period for understanding all the technology and using the data to be able to improve our service.
Our bus dispatchers and controllers are handling 1,300 buses on the street during peak hour, over 115 routes on the street, moving close to 500,000 people on the system a day. They're very good at what they do. They can be receiving dozens of calls in the course of 5-10 minutes from operators all throughout the southeastern Pennsylvania region, and it's their job to continue to make sure they're providing support and guidance to help those operators make sure they can continue to operate.
When the operator steps on a bus, he's going to load everything into his AMDT, his radio system, his route, his block, his account number. Once he does that, that comes up down here. So we know who he is, what route he's working, and where he's at. Once that happens, if he needs to contact us for any reason at all, I mean, it could be minor. As soon as he hits that button, I click on it. I have an AVL screen. Pop it up. There he is. And then there's another screen right next to it that tells me what he's doing.
We can tell if an operator is anywhere from 3 minutes late to extensive delays. When that occurs, we will contact the operator, find out where he had a problem, when he started running late. It could have been blocked by an ambulance. It could have been extreme traffic. What we try to do is, once he gets to the end of the line, so that we don't put people off in the middle of the route, when he gets to the end of the line, we may charter him out of service to another point so that he can then get back on schedule. When something is routinely late, we will make a suggestion, submit it to schedule planning, and they will make some type of an adjustment in the following season's schedule.
On the 52 in the afternoon, you got 3-minute street. That means every 3 minutes there's a bus. So imagine that's one route, that rush hour, that has a 3-minute street. So that guy not only has the 52, he might have 60 other routes.
Because the buses have GPS, we are able to watch their route, make sure that they are en route. There's a little triangle that changes color on the route map, indicating that they're either on time, late, or off route.
Rush hour is the toughest, but then it slows down. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen.
There was a major incident on, I believe it was the Broad Street line, and there was a disabled train. We provide bus service to the location so that the people that are coming off the train receive service. We also provide service between two intermediate points because they need to stop service, so we can shuttle those people to where they need to go on the line and still maintain service on the Broad Street subway. We also notify other operators that are out there that the train service has been disrupted and to please accommodate them. If there was something that happened on the street, we would notify the operators, please avoid this area. We put the detour into the system. We send police and supervision to the area to find out how long they expect it to be disrupted and to see whether or not there's rescue needed.
A lot of times you're switching buses. This one's got bad brakes. I know this guy's finishing. So I'll tell him, can you drive over, swap out with this guy, and then you got to take them each out and then put them right back into the system.
If it was a normal day, we would have maybe 30 to 50 detours in the system. If it was a city event, we could have up to 160 detours in the system, depending on what was going on at the time.
It sounds like a lot, but once you're trained in it, it just comes as second nature. A lot of these guys have been doing it for years. They don't even need the schedule. They know. They know. Oh, I know I got this one finishing at 4th Street. I'm just going to send him over. They know the block. They know what time he finishes and where he finishes. And that's just from the years of getting to know them.
This station here provides all the power for our subways, our trolleys, and our trackless trolleys. The power dispatcher on duty is responsible for ensuring that proper power is supplied for the lines.
We have 2 extensive subway systems. They're one of the big hitters in our operation that moves close to 300,000 people.
This is our subway elevated train dispatch center. Here is where we control the Broad Street subway and the Market Frankford lines. On the top, we have an interactive true model board of the Broad Street subway. Below that is our east-west line, our Market Frankford line. These centralized traffic control systems indicate where all our trains are. These trains are in communication with us via the radio. We can call any train, or the train can call us.
If we have a mechanical failure on one track, we can run the service in both directions on another track.
We know when the platforms are getting crowded, we can actually say, all right, we need to bring a train quicker in to alleviate this congestion on the platform.
These are the train dispatchers who are controlling the service and the tower operator who is aligning all the moves from Olney to Fern Rock and back.
Communication is the most important thing we have. On the subway surface rail, we have 5 channels, airways. You have supervision channel, and you also has the operator's channel. Broad Street is operating on channel 13. Market Street operates on channel 14. We got a maintenance away channel. I have emergency channel. Market Frankford, they have automatic train control, which is coded through the rail. It controls the movement of the trains.
The signal system is mostly automated to make certain train operation occurs safely.
So when a train is at certain points, like you have hairpin curves or sharp curves, we govern the track speed down to 15. It makes that train do 15. If the operator fails to do it, it will stop the train.
There's a computer that runs the system, but the train operators can then determine, I need to put a train here. Let's say a special train's got to come out for maintenance. They can route a train through the system using our control center here.
This is our light rail or trolley center. On the right side plasma screens, we have trolleys that operate in West Philadelphia on the street and in a private tunnel from University City to 13th and Market and back out again. We also have an east-west trolley on Girard Avenue just north of the Central Business District.
On the subway surface trolley, we have what they call communication-based train control. is not coded in the track, is also a radio-based system. So when a trolley comes in initialized, a force field goes around that trolley, which governs the trolley movement. It governs the speed around curves. It'll make the trolley goes to that speed.
We have suburban light rail trolleys out of 69th Street that go to Media and Sharon Hill.
They operate on the car system, computer aid radio dispatch. It's the same function that the bus operators use. They'll tell me exactly where the trolley is. The only one that's not on the ADI is the Route 100 because they don't have GPS.
On the upper display screen, we have an interactive model board of our Norristown high-speed line.
The Route 100, we only go by what we see on the model board.
The ability for those controllers to know how to manage incidents, continue to run service. They're very good at knowing how to react to different situations.
Door problems, sick passengers, dropped cell phones, you name it. It's lost child. It's a lot. It's a lot every day.
This power here is for our commuter rail network. The large screen depicts the track layout of our network.
The commuter rail operation is a very complex network that's shared between Amtrak and SEPTA territories. There's a real complex interconnectivity between other passenger railroads such as Amtrak's and some of the freight lines in the area, and we all work in conjunction with each other.
We have 13 lines that go out about 35 miles from Center City on the longer lines. Some of the shorter lines go out about 10 to 15 miles.
We have numerous forms of communications with our trains and with our stations. We have what we call a DTX system, which gives us radio communications with Amtrak. All the dispatchers can contact each other. We have different channels we can contact yard masters on, maintenance of way workers for repairing tracks. We actually have monitors which show us exactly where every train is on every track, all the availability to switch trains to different tracks.
On these centralized traffic control systems, train occupancy is indicated by red. Green is a route that is aligned for a train. White is available to be used. And if you see horizontal blue, that's a block that's put up to protect workers who are working on or about the track area.
We actually have 6 train dispatchers who are operating the CTC system. They actually control the movement of the trains. They'll take tracks out of service, apply blocking protection for people working on the tracks.
As the train progresses down, they pass from control of one train dispatcher to another as they move towards Center City and out the other end.
It's a very extensive network. It's a very old network. In some cases, the rail lines on the commuter rail operation were around in the late 1800s. So we have a lot of new technology that's supporting a system that's over a century old.
SEPTA operates 700 plus trains on a weekday basis, and ridership is now 130,000 passengers per day. It's at record levels.
As SEPTA's chief engineer, my job responsibility is to make certain that all the infrastructure that is necessary for us to operate trains and buses is maintained in a safe and operating capacity. This includes the trackway, the bridges, the buildings, the stations, the power infrastructure, the communication and signal systems. As it is common throughout the industry right now, funding is tight. We have a $5 billion backlog in our system. We would need $5 billion of construction work to bring our system up to a state of good repair. In the meantime, we are doing the best job we can to maintain our infrastructure by stretching those dollars as far as we can, doing the critical repairs, the critical replacements, those projects that need to be done immediately. Through extensive and ongoing maintenance, we're able to maintain the other items that are in place. For example, we have substations that are 80 years old that are a good 20, 30 years past their useful life, but through diligent maintenance, we are able to keep them operating. In order to carry out our maintenance and construction work, we have to coordinate with all the other divisions within SEPTA. We need to plan well in advance when we want to do certain work or when maintenance needs to be done. Simple things could be scheduled in a week. Major projects will take years for planning, involving engineering and prep and material procurement, and may even go as far as to change schedules to make the trains operate slightly different so that it'll minimize the impact to the customers and it'll allow us to take small pieces of the system out of service. Overnight, when we switch to what we call night owl service, for example, the Broad Street line will be serviced by buses, and while those buses are operating on the surface, we are down below doing the maintenance we need on the tracks. In the regional rail system, we actually have a small window where we don't operate service, it's approximately from 1 o'clock in the morning to about 5 o'clock in the morning. So during that 4 to 5 hour time period, we have a night shift that comes out and does maintenance and inspection overnight. We do a lot of construction work overnight as well. On some really rare occasions, we actually will shut down the line for the weekend. We'll run buses where the trains would normally operate, and those crews will come in and work around the clock from Friday night till Monday morning, replacing those lines. The weekends are the best time to do shutdowns like this, where ridership's at its lowest numbers. All this coordination requires a lot of documentation, a lot of time, a lot of thought process. While I'm an engineer and I want to go fix things, we're actually here as a transportation company, and our job is really to put people from one end of the system to the other, not to build and rebuild our system over and over again. So it's a compromise at times, and then customer service always has to come first.
We do have a customized community transport department within our operations, our CCT operations.
We operate door-to-door service for registered and scheduled elderly and disabled passengers. The dispatching for that service is done right here.
I'm the overseer of the Paratransit Control Center Division. I oversee 31 dispatchers and 4 control center supervisors.
Our day-to-day operation takes care of anywhere between 6,500 to 7,500 trips daily.
We give our customers a window of when we would pick them up. We run 123 routes with our fixed route bus service. Our paratransit service could be a different schedule every day.
We're not 2 blocks up, make a right, or 2 blocks up, make a left. We have to go block to block, door to door. You may have a client who walks very slow. That'll affect that trip and the trip after, causing us to have to rearrange tours. A lot of our patrons are ADA, or they need our services for medical appointments, dialysis, and that's the challenge of trying to bring that to make that all work together.
We do the dispatching, scheduling, and reservations of the vehicles here. The actual service is contracted out to various agencies to provide that service to the different counties. We have GPS on those vehicles. We're in communication with the drivers to help them if there's any problems.
We can actually pinpoint where a vehicle is, how fast he's going at that time. We can run an AVL playback at any time, an audio-video locator playback, and we also use that unit to speak with operators and send CAN messages. CAN messages are messages that an operator has in his vehicle that he can press any time to send a dispatch. Those messages are created so there's less chatter, less stopping, because when they have to pick up the phone in the vehicle, they have to pull the vehicle over, and sometimes that can become very time consuming. We have had experiences with customers or patrons that they may have seizure on the vehicle, they may have had heart attacks on the vehicle. We actually work with the operator of that vehicle to get as much information as possible. If someone needs medical assistance, we then send medical rescue to the scene as well. At that point, if the paramedics decide that they're fine, they can continue transport. We still will take them to their destination, and if they need to go to the nearest hospital, they'll transport, and we'll let the families know what transpired earlier on the vehicle.
The challenging part of it, not knowing what I'm going to walk into every day.
We get calls from, I left my prosthetic leg on the vehicle, to I left my cell phone on the vehicle, because we in Control Center also act as our own call center as well. So we're taking the where's my ride calls, I left something on the vehicle call, my ride's late call. We're taking those also while we're dispatching to over 350 tours a day.
What fulfills me, what gets me out of bed to come to work every day, helping the customers, knowing that I'm delivering the best quality customer service that I can.
SEPTA has its own police force. We have 250 sworn officers. Those officers go through the same training as the Philadelphia Police Department. They go to the same academy. We have them strategically located between our bus operations and our subway and trolley operations. That's primarily where their response is.
At any given time, we'll probably have about 60 to 70 officers riding the system. We have narcotics dogs, bomb sniffing dogs. We have vehicles, we have vans. We handle all 911 emergency calls that are transferred in.
We have call boxes for emergencies. People can push buttons on the platform if somebody's injured or hurt, or they just feel necessary to call for help.
If it's in the vicinity of our transit system, we handle it too. So it's always a presence out there. We're no more than 30 seconds away.
The relationship with the Philadelphia Police Department as well as the surrounding county police department is phenomenal. Our chief of police actually came from the Philadelphia Police Department, so there's a very good interface there on a day-to-day basis.
There's no jurisdictional problem at all. If we listen on the band and we'll hear a missing child, we'll put it out. Most of the time the children get on the subway. We'll let them know that we have the child here and they'll send an officer and pick them up. We are really involved in catching bad guys. The funny thing is a lot of the people that don't pay the $2 are really the ones who have warrants. On the 4th of July, we had one person stop. He didn't want to pay $2. We caught him on camera. When we got him at the next station down, he had marijuana and a 9mm gun. So a lot of bad guys, they really are getting caught that way.
Post 9/11, we rely a lot on our police department to give us input anytime there's a heightened state of alert. In years past, we would have somebody leaving a book bag, which used to be a lost and found item, now is becoming an unattended package, and that can bring a subway system to its knees. It can bring everything to a halt.
We have to prepare for major interruption with the police dealing with that package, while we still try to field the best service that we can.
We have our own dogs that are able to go to a location, determine if a bag is safe or unsafe.
The train is not let go unless it's cleared by K9. We want to be 100% sure. If there is a medical emergency, we send an officer out there and we call the medics at the same time. So we're corresponding with Philadelphia EMS.
SEPTA is becoming a heavily cambered system. On this floor, we have 1,200 different station camera feeds. We have 5,000 plus onboard cameras. All our vehicles that are purchased new are cambered, and some of the vehicles that have significant useful life left are getting retrofitted with cameras.
We have cameras everywhere.
If you have an incident, say like at 69th Street on the Market Frankfurt, I can bring up that station and see exactly what's going on. If something's going on in the elevator, we can bring it up and look inside the elevator and see what's going on.
We had the capability to replay quickly an incident, take a snapshot of the video of a person and email that out to officers that have smartphones and make apprehensions of a suspect.
Arrests have been made because of the video that has been provided by our cameras. The operators are aware that the cameras are there. They rely on that as a security factor because people are less likely to cause a disruption on a vehicle when they know they're being videoed.
What I think is a very valuable asset that we're starting to provide to our customers is our information management group. They are the ones that help provide station announcements and updates to our website. They update the Twitter posts, and they are updating subscriptions to PA Ready Notify so that our customers are getting as real time as possible information about impacts to our service, whether there's weather delays or we have mechanical issues on one line. We can really, within minutes, let our customers know about these delays.
It's a large communication network that is used for multiple devices, closed-circuit TVs, message signs on the station platforms that convey information about whether a train may be on time, or even something as simple as there's a schedule change coming in the fall.
We have all the news agencies, all the radio stations, all the traffic reporters, they all sign up to get our Twitter feed. When we type something, it goes to our website, it goes to our press, it goes to our customer service. Everybody's getting the same message once, and it sends a consistent message. And the beautiful thing about it is that when things change 5 minutes later, we can just put out a new message.
People can register for different lists, so if they take a certain train line in the morning, they can just get those alerts. Instead of having to watch TV or listen to the radio to see if their one specific line is up and running or if there's a delay, they get it right to their smartphone, right to their email, they know what's going on.
When you have harsh weather, and it seems like we have it pretty frequently, the control center becomes the nerve center of SEPTA and allows us to coordinate our activities in a way that we never could before.
We always are aware of any foul weather that may wreak havoc with our system.
You can imagine how a hurricane or a snowstorm affects how we do business.
We're bringing an army of people to clear the snow. We hire contractors, we use our own employees, and we do whatever it takes to get these stations cleared as quick as possible so that when passengers do want to ride the system, they're safe, free of ice. We try to keep everything salted and clear.
Sometimes the adverse weather conditions will bring down trees, which come into our overhead wires, and we can't perform service. crews and equipment get stuck out there sometimes in the affected areas. We have to keep contact with as many crews as we can, and we have to try to put this bad puzzle together without enough equipment or without enough crews to try to at least get some type of continuation of service.
Since I've been here, I've experienced 2 storms. One storm where we literally only took dialysis for the first 3 hours, and after that we just had to totally, completely cancel service because the streets were that bad. When the weather gets to the point where we can't operate safely, we do have to follow the guidelines and make sure the patient pretty much stay home. But if they are out and we got them there, we have to take responsibility and get them home.
We have a lot of meetings to prepare us when we know there's an impending storm. PECO, Philadelphia Gas Works, all the agencies that could be potentially impacted by a storm, everybody is talking about what their preparations are. The National Weather Service comes in and they give us briefings. Once the storm is on top of us, we put a SEPTA staff member in the Office of Emergency Management.
When those types of real severe events take place, we usually will open up the command center or the war room and bring in some of the senior managers from different parts of our organization. The goal is to basically start making strategic key decisions about how we now want to run our service, what alternate services are we going to have to implement, how are we going to communicate that to the public, to the press.
We can import into this room and project any of the communication and control system that is used throughout the floor.
We kind of make the decisions in the war room of how we want to handle the situation. We disseminate that information out to the floor to the various controllers and directors, and then they actually make it happen.
When it's done right, it's a great feeling that people come back the next day and say, I can't believe you're up and running again. Hurricane Sandy hit and we were backing up in 48 hours, where other transit agencies in the regions were down for weeks. I think that said a lot about what SEPTA can do. Our system is designed to handle a certain number of people coming through at a certain period of time. Should those numbers swell beyond what we're expecting to handle, we have 2 options. We can increase capacity of certain things, like if it's just the amount of riders on trains, we would try to add extra trains for special services, special circumstances. We routinely add extra trains on the Broad Street line when there's a concert down at the Sports Center, as an example. Other times we take a proactive approach, knowing that the crowds are coming, try to maintain some sort of control over the crowds by either asking people to come in early, stagger their travel time, and let them know that the trains will be crowded.
We probably carried more than 50% of the people that were going to the U.S. Open on transit. The train would come in with 700 people. We would have a queue of 15 buses lined up, send you through a shuttle, you'd get right on a bus, and you'd be on the golf course within 10 minutes versus trying to drive there and park. The more impressive part was our Norristown high-speed line. The number of passengers that we carry on a normal basis is about 10,000 a day, and that's 5,000 coming in and 5,000 going home. We were dropping off 10,000 people between the hours of 7 o'clock in the morning and about 1 in the afternoon at the golf course at Armour Avenue Station. Those same 10,000 people we had to take home at the end of the event. We had no incidents on our railroad, on our buses, on our Norristown high-speed line. We basically, for 7 straight days, we stepped up to the plate and hit a home run. Or I should have said we should not a home run. We hit a hole in one, shot a hole in one.
In 2008, when the Phillies won the World Series, they won it on a Thursday morning, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and the city came out that Friday morning, you're gonna have a parade. At 5:30 in the morning, when we looked outside at Market Street, you seen a crowd of red hats just walking up towards City Hall. On Regional Rail, they couldn't even pick them up, and I'm talking about early in the morning. And this went all the way up until 7 o'clock that night. We juggled trains all kinds of ways. We turned trains back at here. We trying to accommodate the people downtown. You just couldn't pick them up. We only have 125 cars on Broad Street, and we haul approximately 130,000 a day. Now you brought me 1 million people here. How am I gonna get them? We just couldn't do it, but we did the best we could.
There's a lot of criticism that came out of SEPTA not being prepared. It's not like we have extra vehicles, it's not like we have extra buses. The number of people that we carried was the largest we have ever seen in SEPTA's history. They estimated over 2 million people, and again, that's one of those ones where for 5 hours people came down from 7 o'clock in the morning till noontime. On every mode, every train, every vehicle, everything was packed. and then they all wanted to leave at about 3 o'clock. The Phillies Parade was one of those events where at the end of the day we moved an awful lot of people and nobody got hurt. And when you see the pictures associated with that parade, people realize that we really stepped up to the plate. That's the one where we said that we hit a home run on that one.
Overall, I think we did a great job, but there's only so much you can do.
I enjoy working at SEPTA. I feel that as long as we do what we have been trained to do, the public can rely on us, and I enjoy being a part of that.
The variety of projects I get to work on is amazing. And as an engineer, the variety is that spice of life. You're not doing the same thing every day. It's always different, and that's what makes it fun.
Just yesterday, the dog bit the operator, and the operator was like, I'm fine. I want to get back to work. So I'm trying to tell the operator, no, you got to come off the tour and get a tetanus shot and things of those nature. So I think for me, I look forward to going to work because I don't know what I'm walking into.
It's just a different adventure every day. Some days we have very quiet days, which we do appreciate, but then on a really rough day, it just goes so fast. If you make one good move when people are stuck and you can get them off in relatively quick time, it kind of makes it all worth it when you get a couple of letters written in and the people appreciate what you did.
We're never going to sit back and say we did everything right. There's a lot of tools that allow us to continue to improve our service. We're not going to just sit here thinking that we run a great service. We feel that way, but there's always room for improving.
Our job is that the customers don't even realize what's going on behind the scenes up here. They're just getting their bus, they're getting their train, it's on time, and it's getting them to where they want to go. If they can see us as a seamless point of helping that operation go, then we're doing our job.
On a personal note, I love it. It's something new every day. I have 5 divisions I'm responsible for, and every day they make me think. It could be from construction, it could be from my bosses, it could be from the weather. It's always something. And it's always something that makes me sit back and say, I didn't know that. And I've been here 34 years, and it's amazed me that things still comes around I don't know. It's the best job I ever had.